Salinas, who claims to have made a major discovery about President Obama. She and her grandfather say that President Obama is related to all but one U.S. president. We get more tonight from Action News reporter Felix Cortez, who's live in our Salinas newsroom.
Huge breaking news.
I'll tell you that my great-grandfather is a full-blooded Cherokee Indian.
Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole.
The ancient inhabitants of the ancient peoples of the Middle East were all different types of black people, different groups of black people. Assyrians were a black people, Persians were a black people, Elamites were a black people, and Arabs, yes, were a black people. That's why you see Assyrians have depicted themselves with curly hair, curly beard, and dreadlocks. That's why you see Persians have depicted themselves with curly hair and curly beard, and even there are many wall paintings found in Susa in which Persians have depicted themselves with black skin, have painted themselves with black skin. So therefore, Persians were black people, not a so-called Indo-European, they weren't a white people. Why? Because the temperature here in this city goes up to 50 degrees Celsius in summers with a high intensity and a UV index of 12. White people cannot endure this heat. They cannot tolerate this heat. So they cannot be indigenous to this region. Because we, semi-white looking people, cannot stand this heat. We cannot go outside too much in summer. But how can white people be indigenous to this region? And I don't say this because I'm racist. As you can see, I'm not a black person, and I look mostly like white than black. I just want to tell the truth that the ancient inhabitants of this region, from Babylonians, Assyrians, Elamites, Persians, Jews, were all black. Please stop whitewashing history.
Europeans come to this continent, literally ethnically cleanse the indigenous population out of existence, kill them on a scale that has hardly been equaled, and refer to them as savages. That's an
icy grip around the whole planet. And it seemed like shit couldn't get genocide, starvation. We got the plague.
Your family, your child, your mother. There isn't anything that you have.
Europeans come to this continent, literally ethnically cleanse the indigenous population out of existence, kill them on a scale that has hardly been equaled, and refer to them as savages. That's an
your family, your child, your mother. There isn't anything that you have or ever hope to have that they're not planning on taking away. I'm talking about the oligarchy of evil that controls this country.
The mayor of London is Muslim. The mayor of Birmingham is a Muslim. The mayor of Leeds is Muslim. The mayor of Blackburn is Muslim. The mayor of Sheffield is Muslim. The mayor of Oxford is a Muslim. The mayor of Luton.
Hello, my name is Amy Spain, and I was executed by the Confederate States of America for the crime of believing I might be free. They hanged me in the spring of 1865. I was 17 years old. They called me a traitor, a thief, a Negro wench. But I wasn't born with hate in my heart. No, that was taught to me by the lash, by the whip, by the way Mrs. Spain spit when she said my name. I was born enslaved in Darlington, South Carolina, owned by Major A.S. Spain, a Confederate officer with a black heart and bloody hands. I was his property. I cleaned his floors, washed his sheets, watched him drag boys to war like they were heroes, while we starved behind their grand columns. But in March of '65, something changed. The white folks ran. Union soldiers rode into town. The bluecoats.
Without special protection applied to the skin, pale skin can become severely damaged by the sun and is more susceptible to developing melanoma or skin cancer. Notice how when you apply sunscreen or sun protection creams, the pale skin almost appears to be melanated when viewed through the lens of a special UV camera. When viewing normally, this skin does not have the appearance of melanated skin. Using a special UV camera, skin that has no melanin shows visibly different than skin that does have melanin. It is very clear that something is lacking in skin that is melanin deficient, which is why it needs protection from the sun. Without special protection applied to the skin, pale skin can become severely damaged by the sun and is more susceptible to developing melanoma or skin cancer. Notice how when you apply sunscreen or sun protection creams, the pale skin appears almost melanated when viewed through the special lens of a UV camera. When viewing normally, this skin does not have the appearance of melanated skin. Notice, if you go back only a few hundred years, the indigenous people all around the world were dark-skinned. You have the Native Americans, the Mexicans, South Americans, Asians, Australians even, the people of India, Arabs, and even those who occupied large areas of Europe were all dark-skinned. But now what we're seeing is that many of these groups have white or very light skin because the dark population has been infiltrated. Some through intentional breeding out, such as ᗪ乇丂ㄒ, which is a process of whitening. This is where they'll bring in European males to mate with the indigenous populations. And some through rape and subjugation. The whole world has basically been whited out or is being whited out, and this is causing a lot of confusion to those who are the offspring that has been produced from the mixing of races.
We must remove the book of Enoch, the book of the giants, and any books that reveal who we are and what we are doing. Yes. We have sown our seed throughout the earth. Yes. Yes. Our seed is everywhere. Yes. Yes. These are our children. Yes. 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 We must hide our identity. We must hide our identity. Yes.
Angels and demons can't cross over onto our plane, so instead we get what I call half-breeds. Those with the demon's touch, like those part angel, living alongside us. They call it the balance.
We know by our previous studies that the sons of Japheth lived and populated the area between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. It was actually Japheth's sons and grandsons that populated this area: Meshech, Tubal, Ashkenaz, and Togarma.
According to the book of Enoch, 200 angels descended upon Arnis, which is the top of Mount Armin, today known as Mount Hermon, which is not far from the Caucasus Mountains. Notice at the time that the children of Israel went and spied out the promised land, or it was actually called what? The land of Canaan, it was full of what? Giants. The children and grandchildren of the fallen angels. They were known for terrorizing all those that dwelled in the land. What woman did the fallen angels take after the flood? The fallen angels before the flood were all bound in chains. And giants, all the giants that were born to them were all destroyed in the flood. So why then are we seeing giants in the land of Canaan after the time of the flood?
The angels were still mating with women, and they mated with the mixed seed of Ham's son Canaan. This offspring of the mixed seed of Ham became the new giants after the flood. Notice, David kills Goliath in 1024 BC, and Esau is born in 2006 BC. The Nephilim are the giants, the children of the fallen angels, and the Nephil are the grandchildren of the fallen angels. They would snatch the daughters of the people that came from Ham, Esau, and Japheth, and these children are the Eljo, or Eliud.
The book of the Giants states that the giants begin to kill each other and to abduct the wives of the fallen angels. This is why the Asians and Caucasians have Neanderthal DNA and not the African. The Neanderthal was a troglodyte, a cave dweller.
Even Discover magazine, May 2011, with the catchy title, "You Are Not Human," says that Caucasian and Asians are 3% Neanderthal and up to 5% Denisovian, and a whole lot of bizarre early ancestors. This could be where the Star Child's skull came from. The Star Child's skull is a malformed partial human skull, likely to have been that of a child which paranormalist Lloyd Pye has claimed is of extraterrestrial origin. Pye claimed to have obtained the skull from Ray and Melanie Young of El Paso, Texas in February 1999, stating that the skull was found around 1930 in a mine tunnel about 100 miles, or 160 kilometers, southwest of Chihuahua, Mexico, buried alongside a normal human skeleton that was exposed and lying supine on the surface of the tunnel. Pye claimed the skull to be a hybrid offspring of an extraterrestrial and a human female.
The sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took wives of all which they chose. There were giants on earth. As the days of Noah were, so all flesh had become corrupted.
So now when you look at Daniel chapter 2, verse 31 through 44, now it shines a little more light on that passage.
Like shit couldn't get any more. We got the plague, the living death.
We move at light speed, last of a dying breed. My Akis move at light speed, long as I'm living.
Thou, O King, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and it became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Notice that all these kingdoms are metals: gold, silver, brass, and iron. But when it mentions the seed of men, it calls men what? Clay. The clay represents the indigenous people of the earth, and the metals represents the seed of the fallen angels. The clay represents the indigenous people of the world. They, meaning Rome, mingled their seed with the seed of men. All these kingdoms are the same as the mountains mentioned in the book of Enoch.
The book of Enoch 51:5. And that angel of peace answered me, saying, Wait but a short time, and you shall understand, and every secret thing shall be revealed to you, which the Master of Spirits has decreed. Those mountains which you have seen, the mountain of iron, the mountain of copper, the mountain of silver, the mountain of gold, the mountain of fluid metal, and the mountain of lead, all these in the presence of the elect one shall be like a honeycomb before the fire, and like water descending from above upon these mountains, and shall become debilitated before his feet.
When does the Roman kingdom of the fallen angels mingle their seed with the seed of men? Just before the return and smite the image at the mingling part of the image of iron and clay. That is why the scriptures say that it takes place in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to another people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and shall stand forever.
going to believe it or not, the human landscape has changed through the infiltration of DNA from entities outside of the human race. Now, many explanations have been provided for this over the years as to why we all look vastly different, but scientific evidence has proven that all non-Africans have DNA markers that are not completely human. Truth is truth, facts are facts, and the proof is in the pudding, as some may say. But everything we thought we knew is actually the real illusion, and that we thought was an illusion or a figment of our imagination is more real than our reality. The Book of Enoch is actually helping to unravel some of the mysterious ideologies that we see in fiction movies. Now, those who control the media, they were merely taunting our imaginations with the truth while telling us none of it was real. But the reality is, much of it is real, but our minds can't comprehend it as real because we've been controlled and programmed for far too long.
The seed of the fallen angels have been spread all over the planet.
From this point on, we hope that this film will cause you to look at the world from a different, more realistic perspective, and not to merely just see it through the programming that you've received from a very early age. So what you need to do is ask yourself, what really is real? And what information do I need to abandon altogether?
Thank you, Jah, for being my strength. Never turn aside, no way. Thank you, Jah, for life and health. Gotta say my prayers every day. Thank you, Jah, for being my friend. In the day to do what you think wise, and nobody can stop you.